Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just made myself a little tea, and I thought I'd sit down here and do a live stream with you. So welcome to the live stream. If it's your first time meeting me, my name's Randall. I fish a lot down at Lewistown Lake, like most of y'all. And if you're not familiar with the lake, you should get familiar. But we're going to hang out for a couple minutes and let people kind of catch up, let them know that the live stream is active. If you want to do this, you can help the channel out. You can share this live stream on your Facebook page so your fisherman buddies can join us. And we're just going to have a good time. We're going to talk a little bit about the fishing season behind us and ahead of us. Most importantly, we're going to talk about the nuts and bolts where the rubber hits the road whenever you're actually fishing. I'm talking about the strict basic rules that cannot be broken. So we're going to be talking about some absolutes and some fundamentals tonight. And if that's something that'll help you put more fish in the boat, tell them to join us, and then we're all happy because we're all catching more fish. But good evening. I see you, Phil. It's good evening to you as well. Bruce, good evening. It's good to see you both. I'm going to give folks just a couple minutes to kind of get caught up so they know that we are actually streaming. So just give them a couple minutes, that's all. I made chamomile tea tonight. I'm a big fan of chamomile tea with some local honey, just a little bit of local honey in it, and that is still steaming really hot. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's still too hot to take a sip of, but I'm anxiously waiting for it to cool down. Well, how about we just wait till like 5 minutes after 8, so just another like 2 minutes, and then people will know. So if you want to grab a cup of tea or a coffee or something like that, that'll be good. And the first thing we're going to go over tonight is going to be your homework assignment. I don't know if you guys remembered that we finished the last stream by me giving you a homework assignment. So I have a cheat sheet here. Let me grab it. I have my live stream cheat sheet that I set down. Let me get it ready for us here. I have so many notes tonight, guys. It's highly, highly unlikely that we won't get through all my notes, but that's okay. It's just something to keep us on track. And I know some of you are kind of new to the live stream thing. Let me tell you what this is all about. The way that I've been running this, the way I kind of conduct this live stream is pretty simple. I have this list, this very inclusive list here. It's got lots of stuff on it. And there's a chance that nobody will interact at all, and so I'll just have to direct the whole live stream. And so I'll just go down my list, and it'll be a solid live stream. You guys can reflect back on it later and learn a little thing. Or if you're in the chat, you get involved and we start talking, and that can take the direction of this entire live stream off course and head it down a track that you are most interested in. This is supposed to be very interactive. I know the lake well enough that I feel like I can go out there and succeed on at a high frequency, pretty regularly. And my goal is to bring you to that level of confidence that when you get on the water, you feel like you're about to make something happen. The best way to make that work in your favor is to get involved in the chat. So ask questions. Try to delve a little deeper into this than normally. Normally, folks just sit out and just watch passively, which is okay. We're happy you're here. Glad you're learning and such. But if you get involved, on the other hand, this will actually take a course that's more catered for what you want to get into. Doug, good evening. It's good to see you. So if you want to guide this a little bit, just throw out some tidbits. Any questions you have, you do it right in the front end of this live stream, and that'll kind of guide the course of it. I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Let's give this chamomile tea a chance. Good stuff tonight. Good stuff. Let me just start off by saying I know that there's been a flu bug that's been just pommeling my church. I've been going to a church for probably like 12, 13 years. And it's the first time the pastor ever said, hey guys, stay home and get well. He has never canceled a service. There were so many folks who were sick in our congregation, mostly seniors, that he just told them all to stay home and get well. So I know it's been hitting everybody really hard. Hopefully you're getting over it. And I'll tell you, that chamomile tea with a little bit of local honey in it will clear it right up. I promise. It worked for me. I'm sure it'll work for you too. But anyways, hope you guys are feeling well. All right. Well, let's get into this. The first thing I want to touch into is the homework assignment. So we did have a homework assignment. Do you guys remember what it was? The homework assignment was you were supposed to find your spot on Lake Raystown that you would consider your hot spot, so your go-to location. And you were supposed to dissect it, break it down a little bit so that you could understand why your hot spot, your go-to spot, is so productive and so consistently, predictably a high yield spot for you. So, does anybody have a spot that maybe isn't their hot spot specifically, but might be close to it? Let's call it a mile marker, or it can be a landmark, a resort, or a dock, or anything like that. So give me a little bit of guidance. What part of the lake do you want me to spend just about 5 minutes dissecting with you and talking a little bit about the fish patterning that's going on there? We'll even cover spring, summer, fall, winter. You know, I kind of try to do that. So we'll start right now because it's time sensitive. Anybody got a spot? Something I like to do whenever I'm running my charters in the summer is I like to come down here by the Lake Raystown Resort. This is down at Shy Beaver. So if you guys are looking for this mapping program, you'll notice that it is linked down right below this video. It's a free mapping program. You can just click on it and open it up, save it in your bookmarks, and then you can go do a little bit of research on Lake Raystown, kind of like what we're going to do here in just a minute. And you'll have a lot of fun doing it too. The idea here is to make a big lake small. So you can, there's no chance you can fish all of Raystown Lake in a day. So whenever you go out, you want to have an area that you can work. And as the days and your trips and such go by, like through the year, you're going to take this lake and you're going to find with each one of those little snapshots, you're going to learn more and more about a large lake. But let me take you here to one of my favorite spots. This is the Shy Beaver boat ramp here. And I like this spot in the summer because I like to take families and kids perch fishing. And perch fishing is one of the most underrated fishing activities at Lake Raystown for two reasons. One, you catch a lot of fish. Perch are pretty easy to target. You can just use a hook and a worm and you'll be successful. That's the big one. It's just you'll be highly successful. And number two is it's so accessible for families. So you can take your whole family out, young to old, and everybody's going to be successful, not just with perch, but you're going to catch the bass species, the crappie, the catfish. You know, we do catch the odd and end striped bass. Usually, you know, what we call schoolies, the smaller ones. The point is you catch the whole gamut. If you're targeting these perch, you're going to end up catching non-targets that are also interesting. The idea is it keeps everybody engaged. So it's a good summertime fishing activity, going after perch. So when I bring folks out on my perch trips, what I usually do is I put in here at Shy Beaver and I look for flats. And in this mapping program, the flats are going to be marked with this blue. Like even back through here, you see the blue through Shy Beaver. And Shy Beaver, it is going to hold a lot of perch, but, well, actually right along here, if you guys remember, I had a video that's called Nighttime Bite Time, where the perch were just taking all my bait. That was actually, I was anchored up right there along this edge right here. So yeah, perch are everywhere through here, but what I typically do is I find bigger open flats like this, and I go in and I search just right around that 10 to 15 foot line. That's a good flat. This area back here by the resort is good. one of my favorite spots. I call this the secret spot because I always take a picture of the mile marker behind me. It's not a secret, guys. But just right around that 10 to 15 foot, anywhere along this flat, and you go and you just use your electronics and you try to find perch. Here's another flat over here, again about 10 to 15 feet. 10 to 15 feet is how consistent they are, and you just keep on working your way along here, 10 to 15 feet. What I'm suggesting you actually do here is take the whole family out and have a great time chasing perch, and they're the simplest to find. Everybody can succeed with this. Just go to that 10 to 15 foot contour line, and this is summertime patterns that I'm giving you right here. So this is summertime fishing. It's when most of the people are there. Go out and have a blast with your family. Catch lots of perch. Bruce says he likes mile 18 through 19 in the fall. That's a good area for the fall, Bruce. And Bradley says 16 to 20. Okay. That's a span. Very good. Coffee run. All right. Coffee run's pretty good. I was just talking about perch. I like that. Those are good recommendations. Why don't I just spend a few minutes on each one of those? We'll break this map down just a little bit with it. I think you guys like it when I break this map down. It seems like that's become like a little bit of a popular thing. So here we are at James Creek, at Shy Beaver. So we're going to put in our boat at Shy Beaver, and we're virtually putting our boat in the water right now because it's probably icing up a little bit, and it's only going to get thicker over the next like 10 to 15 days. And I'll talk about that with you in a minute. But so here's Shy Beaver. We're going to virtually put our boat in the water. We're going to motor out here to the main channel and take it on plane. And we're going to zip up here to the Entrecon Bridge, and then we're going to keep on going. As we pass Entrecon Bridge, we're going to come along this edge right here. And you see where it's all blue. We're just going to follow the edge right up here. And we're going to turn left. Now this is a no wake zone right here. So you're going to come back down off plane. And you're going to look right inside this right here. This is what is known as Coffee Run. Coffee Run is probably it's probably got a little bit of ice on it right now at this moment, and it is very low, so the water does not come back this far right now. Last I checked, I think the water was, I don't know, back in here somewhere. I think this is Nancy's Boat to Shore, the access road. I think the water was like right around in that, something like that. So it's retreated a lot. It's just drought. They're not doing a draw down. It's just drought, but that's where the water's at. So here with Coffee Run, why don't we look right at the mouth of it? The water's flowing from Coffee Run and coming out to the main channel. I'm pointing that out to you because that's current. Current is very important. Current for fish is very important. The majority of fish will look into the current. They do that for a couple of reasons. One, it's good oxygen, get good airflow and such in their lungs, in their gills. And number two, they're watching for any bait or sediment that's carrying something they want to eat down right to them. So it's an energy efficient way to hunt. If they just watch the current, sometimes the current brings the food to them. I often look for what I call these pinch points, and I talked a little bit about this in the other live. Whenever the topo lines get really close together like this, I consider that one of the things on my list that I look for when I check off. So as they get tight here on this side, I would probably run by this with my side scan or down scan or sonar, and I would check this out. Just use your electronics and look around. But I gotta say, because of the angle of this in the current is sweeping right across that. So I don't think there's any relief from the water energy, meaning that I don't think it's a spot where the fish are going to rest. So they might be passing through there. I don't think they're going to rest. I think probably just for the shape of this flow right here, this little dog leg left that it's doing before it goes into bridge, it draws my attention to this elbow right here, the inside of the dog's leg, sort of, right? And keep in mind, guys, what I'm doing is I'm showing you things that are potential spots to check out. So these are places you should look. If I was going out to fish around Coffee Run, around Tapman or something like that, Shy Beaver area, and I was just going to run up here, I would try to have like 5 to 10 places like this to look at. Use this mapping program to make the big lake small so that I have 10 places that I can go in and dial in on. I can search them up and just see if there's something sitting there. Maybe the better you get at this, you'll see more. But the last trip that I went out around, what was it here last? Whenever I did the last live stream, I had, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 places around James Creek that I had said will probably be holding fish. And I went out and I checked all 5 of them. 2 of them had fish on them. So even as much as I do this, your success rate, you can't just count on it. So you can't just pick one spot and go. I want you to pick out 5 to 10 places to check out on the map before you go. That way the lake's not so big for you. Whenever you go out, you get a good focused attempt with your energy, because you only have so many hours in the day. So when you go out, you want to be more effective. So what I would say right here is I'd be really interested in checking out right here where the crosshairs are, right on the inside of that turn. And I say that mostly because of the water flow slowing down. As the water comes down here, it's going to push this bank, and you're going to get this tight push here. This is going to be high energy water flowing right here. And then back here, it's going to create kind of a little bit of an eddy, just a calm spot, a place where fish could hang out with low energy and wait and ambush. I'm guessing that they would hang really tight up on the front right in this area, and probably right on the bottom all the way down in whatever this is, 35 feet of water. So I'm guessing this would be bottom fishing, and it's not too deep. You'll probably find just about everything there. All your aggressive species like bass and walleye, and you might run into the odd laker back here fishing early spring, but mostly I think the lakers are going to be a little bit deeper. But your aggressive fish, your predatorial hunt and kill fish, that's probably what you'd run into back in there. Yeah, but that's a pretty good one. That's a simple look at Coffee Run. So the next spot, here we go. All right, Brian Wright is saying, can you talk about Beer Barrel Bay? It looks like a hump and a point that extends out into the main channel. Sure, I can do that. Beer Barrel. All right, great. Hey, guys, I really appreciate your interaction here. Do the thumbs up for me and share this for a buddy if you got a chance to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit more time than I anticipated, because you guys are interacting, and I love that. So we're going to get on the map, and we're going to take our virtual boat, and we're going to just keep on going toward the dam, and we're going to hit a couple of these spots that you guys point out to me. So don't let just a couple recommendations stop you. If you got another one, throw it in it. As we go down the lake, we're going to hit these spots up. So don't let us miss the one that you're interested in. All right, Coffee Run was the first one, and then my friend Bradley suggested we look at 16 to 20, and Bruce said 18 to 19. So that's captured inside of Bradley's 16 to 20. So let's go see. What's he talking about? Between 16 and 19, what is he actually talking about? Let's zoom out, and let's go for a ride. So here we go. We're pulling out a Coffee Run, and we're going to buzz down the lake a little bit. I'm doing some eyeballing here. I'm just looking. Down to Beer Barrel. All right. So I'm going to run up around this bend right here, and I'm going to get into this zone here where we're looking at mile marker 18 through 19. So this section right down through here that we're looking at that's up on the map, this is what I would call mile marker 18 and 19, if you will. So it's a little bit further. So we haven't got into Bradley's section yet, have we? 16 to 20. So 20 is right there on that bottom corner, and then 18 and 19. Okay, I want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Okay. So my first thing when I'm looking at this is I do look for the pinch points. I'm looking for those dark contour lines. I like to see things that are really tightly pushed together. I should point out why I'm looking for that. The steep drop-offs are really simple for a fish to work. So if you imagine, like, say there's a flat up here, and it drops off kind of steeply, and it comes down, and you have a bottom. So this steep drop-off, what it does, it allows fish to come down here in the water column where it's cooler, where they're more comfortable, where the temperature's right for whatever species it is. And then when they want to hunt, all they have to do is they inflate their air bladder, and they come up, they float up. It's effortless for them to do that. And then they just swim out on the flat and they do their hunting. And when they come back after eating, they deflate that air bladder and they go back down to where the water temperature is comfortable. This is a hunting pattern that's really popular with a lot of your predatorial fish. A lot of them do it, not all of them, but a lot of them do it. So it's a good method to start with whenever you're doing what we're doing. And we're trying to keep this stuff super simple, even to the point where even stupid could pull it off. Let's start right here on the point. I would fish this right. I'm sorry, I didn't have the screen up. I would fish this point right here. So all I did is I zoomed in on 20. You notice how tight the lines get right here on the side? And it's this is the main channel out here. The main channel here pushes all the way down against the far side, the eastern side of the bank. So your heavy flow or your fast flowing water, your high energy flow, it's going to be over here pushing on the eastern bank. This area all in here is going to create like an eddy. This would be a good spot to look for fish who are in a resting state, maybe like semi-active because they're still out there in the channel. This would be a good place to do your simple rigs that I haven't talked about yet, but I'm going to. Your drop shots, your Lindy's, your Carolina rigs, things like that. Your basic ties, your basic rigs that you could run. I'm talking about a hook and a worm kind of rigs. Real simple stuff that your grandfather showed you how to do, and I'll tell you, we seem to have forgotten. The big issue is you're going to be fishing about 50 feet of water. So maybe think about two things. One, you're going to be harvesting these fish. If you bring them up from that deep, the release rate on them is, the mortality rate's going to be pretty high on them. So consider responsible catch harvest, and always be thinking about a responsible catch release. If you can release them safely, release them, they're always going to stand a better chance of surviving if you release them as opposed to putting them in your skillet. So just be considering it. But as you see this inside here, this is all like low energy. This is all good to look at. You're going to need electronics to get down there. You can't read the water that's 50 feet underneath water. So you're going to have to use some kind of electronics, whatever you're confident with. If it's just a down scan, just drive through there and look for marks. Don't question about what they are, what they might be, or don't leave the fish to go somewhere else and find other fish. Catch what it is, put it in your boat, and then decide whether it's something you want to fish for. Make yourself successful before you get choosy. But let's zoom out. That's 20. Let's zip right up here. I like how tight these contours are along the side. We're getting into a section of the lake that I think that you could pull all these banks with these non-tight lines, like right in through here. You can pull live bait through all of this. This is all striper territory. These gradual lines, the ones that are spread apart, are really good for your feeding fish, your larger predatory fish at Lake Lewistown, like the stripers. Those flats are really nice. These drop-offs that are really tight like that are for different kinds of fish, but still good. And then here, another big flat along here. Another big gradual flat all the way around here. Now this is interesting. This little cove right here. I'll stop here on this, and this should be. Is this 18? I'm not blind here, am I? There's Nancy. 16. This is 17 here, right? 18. 19. Am I miscounting? Anyways, what I saw that was interesting is this little cove right here. Let me zoom in on it. I'll show you what I saw. Right here outside of this cove, you got this real tight pinch point. Usually what this means is right here on the land is you probably have a rock. It's pretty sharp rock. It's coming down really fast right here into this spot. I like to look at those places because quite often you'll have fish who are suspended, just staying up against the rocks. Whenever they come down real hard like that, you end up with large boulders underwater and along the edge there and stuff. It usually creates some underwater large rock structure. So when you get a sharp drop off of a cliff, it's good to go check and see if you can find some large boulders or something and just work through them a little bit. A lot of fish species like to hold to those rocks. Just checking the comments. If you guys have a specific spot you want me to hone in on, now's a great time to say so in the comments. I appreciate you guys. Your interaction has been incredible tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's move on down here toward, here's another good flat along here. Striper territory. Across from Nancy's. This is Nancy's boat to shore, where everyone likes to make fun of me for letting my boat float away. Right here's where I camped, right here on the point. Opposite of that point is a big flat over here that's kind of gradual. It's another good area to look for striped bass, pulling bait nice and slow. Right off of Nancy's here, this is mile marker 16, is that right? Right here. This drop here, I've looked at this before because it looks really nice. And I didn't understand why it was so unproductive for me. It looks really good on the maps, but look at the angle here with the main water flowing through down the main channel. I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. The water's going this way, and then look, all the contour lines are almost parallel with it. So this water's coming down, and it's just sheeting right off of those contours. Not saying a fish won't hold on that, but there's really not too much there to give them any protection or low energy water flow. So there's not a place for them to hide. So they tend to not hold there in my experience. So somebody go catch a big fish there and prove me wrong. But I don't think, as much as that looks like a good spot, I don't think it is a good spot. We're going to jump across here to Trough Creek. I think I'm going to stop right there for a minute. Do you guys have any questions so far? Did I skip over anything that maybe you guys wanted to hear about? I think I effectively covered 16 to 20 there in about 5 minutes. That's what it feels like, or 10 minutes. What I'm going to do is, when we come back on the lake here, when I get back on the map, is we are going to run all the way down to Beer Barrel. And we're going to talk about what I've started calling Horsehead Point and how it points out right toward the Beer Barrel. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Beer Barrel area in general, all of it. So if you guys have any questions between Trough Creek and Beer Barrel, let me know now. It'd be a great time. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to top off my tea. So I'll be right back. 1 minute. Matter of fact, I might like this. I'm going to heat it up. I had tea in the pot, but it's just a little chilled, so I'm going to heat it up for a minute. Yeah, I'm going for a coffee run. That's right. Holding with the theme. All right, I think you guys are straight, right? Marty's. All right, we can hit Marty's too. Sure. Appreciate that, Bruce. All right, let's jump back on the water. Here we are at Great Trough Creek. Let's zip down to 7 Points area. We're going to go to the Beer Barrel Bay right here. This is the Beer Barrel. And guys, just so you know, this whole this mapping system, it's linked down below in the comments section. Save it to your bookmarks tab so that you can come back and you can do your own research. And I'll show you something cool about it too. I'll do it right now. If you go into the map, so after you click on it, just zoom way out. You want to see something really cool? It's not just Lewistown Lake. You can take this and go to any lake that you like, and you can use this mapping system. If you go all the way up to Glendale Lake, there you go. So it doesn't work just at Lewistown. It's not a Lewistown only map. It's just a mapping program. You can use it wherever you want to go. For now, we are on our way to 7 Points area. We're going to go down here to the Beer Barrel. So this is the Beer Barrel Bay right here. This whole area is the bay. And then right here in the middle, you have a submerged island. And that's essentially the barrel. This is why they call it the Beer Barrel Bay. So basically it's 20 to 25 feet right on the top. And it's surrounded by whatever that is, 100 feet. So you essentially have 100 feet of water, 100 feet of depth on the sides, and about 20 feet on top of this barrel. So the obvious thing that I'll point out to you is you can quickly look at the beer barrel itself. This is the target of the bay, and you can read those topo lines. You can see the shallow, and you can drive around this. You can search for all the fish that you want to fish for. But what I'm going to do is pull away from the barrel top that everybody focuses on. That really hammers it. This is an area that gets fished because it catches our eye and catches our imagination. And don't get me wrong, we've done some great fishing there. You can do great fishing there too. But do me this favor, when you go to the Beer Barrel Bay, consider looking at the bay. So when you go in this mapping program and you open up the bay here, don't get stuck on the beer barrel only. Look around the area more so than just the top of it. There's interesting stuff going on right over here. Let me zoom in onto it. This is the Point Campground here. This is pretty cool right through here. The way these topos are broke up right here. You see that you have pinch points on this side, pinch points on this side, and then in here you have a gradual flat before it hits more pinch points. So what you end up with is this slight elevated area right over here that's underneath water about 80 feet. So about 80 feet deep, you're around 7 points. You got a submerged flat. This is a great location for you to search for lake trout. If you guys do the jigging like that I love to do here at Lewistown Lake, then you already know. This would be a great spot to start. So it's a great time for me to plug my jigging lure. I made up a bunch of these. All you have to do is go onto the website and you pick up the jigging lure and you're going to find, I don't know why that picture is still up there. I replaced that picture. I thought it would be new. But you can share this to your page so everybody and your brother buys it as well. But there it is if you guys want the jigging lure. I have a couple made up. I'll even show you. They're even packaged and ready to throw in an envelope for you. So order them up and be successful. You can go right here to this flat and start jigging as soon as the ice gets off the water. I should say as soon as the ice gets off your boat. I'm sure everybody's kind of frozen in. My tea's calling to me. This came from one of my clients on the charter. They actually shared some of their honey with me. I'm sorry, it's not this honey. They have shared honey with me. It's just I used it all. This is the new honey. Can I do this without scorching myself? Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I'll let that cool down just for a minute. So pick up a set of lures and go jig that flat right there. And do me this favor, two favors, twofold. If you pick up a set of lures and you go jig that flat that I just showed you and you pull up a laker, I want you to take a picture holding that big laker with that lure hanging out of his face. I want you to send it to me and say, I did it. And I hope you do. I want you guys to succeed when you're out here. And if you handle it for a short amount of time, you think it's healthy, throw it back in the water and let it go on so the next guy can catch it too. Or if you want to harvest your fish, you're allowed to do so. You're a fisherman. You can make your choices. Sorry, let me check the chat real quick here. Well, Brian, those tubes are just what I use. So no, that tube does not come in the kit that you ordered. And by the way, the post office was closed today. I could not ship that out today, but tomorrow it'll be in the mail, okay? No, that tube is, and I can link it to you if you want. I'll send it to you. It's just, you can use any 5-inch tube you want for on the black lure, but the idea is that you can choose what that tube looks like. This is your custom twist to that set of lures. That black one is the tube lure, and it's got that side hook, so the side tie that you can use for suspended presentation. So you put a tube on it, and then you pull it up above the trees and bounce it above the trees. And the Lakers like to sit in those trees, so they'll come up and they'll hit it. Mostly that black lure is being used to jig the Lakers off the tops of the tree tops. And if you cannot find trees at Lake Raystown, I don't know what to do to help you out. So there's lots and lots of trees at Lake Raystown. That lure specifically is going to be one of the ones you use the most if you use it right. But just try not to get it hung up in the trees. If you do, I know the guy that makes lures. But yeah, just add a tube to it. Any 5-inch tube should work as long as it's a big body. You want something wider. I like the ones that Send It Outdoors is the name of them. Send It Outdoors. I might even be able to just bring it up for you. How about if I do that real quick? So yeah, there's my lure if you guys want to order. Bring it up here. Where's that? Send It Outdoors. Here we go. I'll show you what the tubes look like that I like to get. They're called the Middleman. They're 5-inch. They come in a 3-pack. They're $7.99. These ones are glow. You can use any color you want, but these ones I find they fit really, really nice. So that's what I use. Those are high glow. I believe in glow for Lakers. Glow lures work really well for Lakers. That's not just me saying it. That's well established in the industry. They also have other colors, of course. So you can check them out. But this is the one that I like. All right, Send It Outdoors is the place to go. All right, let's zoom out here just a little bit. This is curious over here, the upper corners, right over here. We're looking at those tight contours. Let's zoom in on them a little bit. This is really interesting, isn't it? Imagine you're a fish and you're kind of hanging out down here, and this is just where you spend your life until you want to eat. And then you swim up here in these shallows and you chase around all the food and eat, and then you go back down in here. It's a pretty low energy way to live life. It's a good spot that whenever you're going by the Beer Barrel Bay to go over and just give a good look at. You just go check it out. And you can continue to do that all the way around the perimeter. And the reason I'm saying that's such a good idea is, guys, look how small the Beer Barrel is itself. There's not a whole lot of shoreline on that island. But if you go around the perimeter of the main Beer Barrel, you're going to, it's 20 times as large. There's 20 times as much area to search. And if you mark out, we'll say like 5 to 10 places along here, like in this mapping, you find 5 or 10 places you like. You can go out there and just drive along this Beer Barrel Bay, do one big loop, put a couple waypoints down, and then come back, and then you fish those 4 or 5 places around that loop, and you should have a highly productive fishing trip. It'll just be about figuring out what it's going to take to make them bite, because you found the fish. All you got to figure out is how to make the fish bite. So that is Beer Barrel Bay. Thank you, Brian. I'm happy to do them. Brian, if you're coming up for striped bass, it's going to be difficult to catch them this time of year. There's a couple reasons for that, not the least of which is there's some ice to contend with. The hard truth about striper fishing at Lewistown Lake specifically is it's a finicky species and a finicky lake, meaning the fish turn on and off pretty quickly, so you kind of have to be there when it happens. And because striped bass are such a transient fish, they're always moving, they're always fishing. If you're not on the water, we'll say 3 days in a row, it's difficult to have any pattern figured out. And that's why most people who come up for the weekend struggle, because they're up there for Friday and Saturday and maybe Sunday, and they just started to figure something out and they got to go home. Most guys will come up Saturday and Sunday and they don't really have much luck. They might not even find them. So, what does that mean? If you're coming from Ohio, Brian, I'm going to recommend you talk to a charter. There are about I'd say about 80 charters registered to take people out on Lewistown. Any given year, though, you'll have about a dozen to 20 charters who are actively chartering. That dozen or 20 charters who's actively chartering every single year, they know what they're doing. So reach out to one of them, and you're going to spend less money going out with a charter to find striper, and your chances are going to be much higher. So I encourage everybody, if you have not kind of had the chance to be on the water for at least 3 days in a row, I would tell you to take a charter. It's going to be your best option. I promise. I do charter for stripers. I'm not trying to sell myself either. What I'm saying is there's a lot of us that charter up there. I'm happy to take you out on a charter, of course, but if you want to reach out to me and just talk to me on the phone, I'll even give you a reference for like 2 or 3 different charters. You can call us all. But we're all going to have a similar conversation with you. It's going to be kind of like this. The bridge at Entrican, if you're going to bank angle, like if you're going to set up on the bank, you could sit at the bank there at the Entrican Bridge, and you stand a chance. The issue is the fish don't know that they're supposed to be there simply because you showed up. Meaning they might not come through there but once or twice over the weekend. And you have to be there when they show up. You see what I mean? So it can be frustrating to try and bank angle at Lewistown Lake because timing is everything. I saw that, Mark. We've donated so much to these trees. It's about time we take a little bit back from the trees. So drop them lures down just above the treetops, jig them around when the laker comes up. Go claim a laker from the trees. All right, good. So we hit Beer Barrel. What did we say we're going to do? Go back to Marty's? Is that what we suggested? Yeah, I think so. So we're going to hit Marty's up real quick. Let's do that. So we're back into the mapping program here. We are in our virtual tour of the lake right now. We're going to leave the Beer Barrel. We're going to cruise down here past 7 Points. There's the marina. And you guys know one of my favorite places on the lake, right here at the 7 Point Saddle, just out from the marina. Pull out from the marina, and here's a 7 Point Saddle. That's this connection right here between Marty's Island and this point that I don't think has a name. If it has a name, I don't know what it is. But this is the saddle right here, and you guys know that I'm a big fan of fishing this saddle. It's a bottleneck. Think of this as a what do they call that thing that they catch the cow's head in whenever he comes in, and they lock it so they can give him shots and stuff. But it's like a cattle chute. It's a bottleneck. It's a cattle chute. Doesn't matter if they're going down or upstream. They have to go through that bottleneck. And the interesting thing about it is it's not just a bottleneck. It's also a rise. So look at the topo lines on both sides of it. It goes from 130 feet on this side, and it rises up to about 50 feet. And the same thing on this side, about 130 feet over here, up to about 50 feet. So everything that's coming and going, it has to not just bottleneck between these points, it's also got to rise up. So these fish in here become very, for lack of a better word, they become very vulnerable. But it's a predictable spot to come. That's the good thing. The bad thing, if they're not there, they're not there. Buddy, I've gone, and the saddle has been dry for weeks. It just seems like nothing's moving through there. So the saddle can be like that. It can be humbling, or it can be your glory days of fishing. But it's always a good spot to stop and check. Again, the jig that I would recommend you use here would be the green one. The green one is bright, so it's got color to it. So that's your shallow jigging lure. So shallow means down to about 40 feet, maybe 50 feet. If you're right in that fringe depth, it's fine. It's still a glow lure, so if it gets deeper than that, it still has the glow. The reason that's important is because Lakers, they're eaters. I think Lakers just eat. I was talking to Mark about it today. I think they just eat and eat and eat. I don't think they ever stop eating. But they need to see it, and it's pitch black down there, guys. Pitch black. Still kind of hot. So, 7-point saddle is good. I encourage you guys to check that out. Let's look at Marty's right here. This is Marty's Island. You guys, if you're at least somewhat familiar with the lake, you would know this little island over here as the cliffs. This is where that's where we all jump off and go swimming and stuff. Those are the cliffs. You might even check back behind the cliffs. I've scanned back here and done a little bit of fishing and not had any success. So maybe it's just me, but you can go check them out. I'll tell you, this area out here in the wide open, this is a real slow, gradual depth change. You see the pink lines here, what's marking your channel flow. This is your main, this is your high flow, high energy flow. It's going to be outside over here where the tight topography gets real tight here. But this area on the inside of this, what would be considered as a huge eddy, it's essentially flat. It's real gradual, but it's a flat area. If you pull up one of the old maps of Lewistown Lake, you can look at this spot. But it's just, there's a couple little fields that used to be in there, and then there's a lot of trees. So it's kind of like a little forested patch in the back of Grandpa's farm. So this is where he probably shot a bunch of deer out of the tree stand that he built, and a long time ago. The tree stand is probably collapsed and under the water, but the trees, they're still standing. I'm pointing that out to you because if you need a spot to take that black lure to find some trees, this whole area back here is riddled with them. This is a forest back through here. So you can go and just drive along with your down scan or your sonar until you find some Lakers in the tops of the trees, and then you can drop that black lure with a tube on it right down to them. Gives them nice big profile, and it's up in the suspended, so you're not going to be bouncing on the bottom. It's going to have a nice little swim action, and you're just going to put some Lakers in the boat. So that's a good forested area for it to check out. Fish in the trees. I want to show you guys this just for fun. This little cove that's right up here. Long time ago, when I was first getting into jigging lake trout, I'm going to try and put the cursor right about where it happened. I would say it's a little further down than that. Probably right around in here. Something like that. is where I caught my first ever jigged lake trout. Right about there. It's kind of cool. I have so many stories from this lake. It's like part of me, after I'm dead and gone, part of me is still going to be there. A lot of fun to fish this lake. You got to learn some of these basic techniques, but man, if you do, guys, you can go out and have such a good time. We're going to have such a good time. All right. So I do want to do a little bit of my notes tonight. I think we covered a lot. Is there any other questions, if you will, as far as map work? We can do some more, but I want to kind of work through this because the idea of this is to keep it stupid, simple. And what I mean by that is keep things as basic can be. And I wanted to use this example. The other day, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, I went fishing, and there was a gentleman who was really good at catching crappie. And I've caught plenty of crappie, but at Lewistown Lake, it's a little bit difficult. Can I bring that up? Is that my screen? No. I'm going to bring this up in 1 second. But I have a picture I want to share with you. That's all. So just give me a second. I'm going to bring it up. So there's a gentleman he took me crappie fishing, I should say. And when he did, I really appreciated it because I learned a little bit. But ultimately, I was out, and I don't know if you guys saw in the last stream, I showed you guys some rigs. I was showing you guys my Lindy rig, my slip bobber rig, my I think I had 2 Lindy rigs tied up, and then I just had some things tied up. Drop shot, that's what it was. But it was more than a drop shot. It was like a high-low rig with a drop shot on. Anyways, I was tying these rigs because they're not crazy fancy or anything like that. They're common enough. But they're like hybrid rigs. They're a little bit, you got to level up your knots a little bit so you can tie these. Not crazy. Y'all are capable too. But I went out and I was fishing for them crappies for 30 minutes and couldn't catch one. If your grandfather would have taken you out to fish these crappies, what would he have done? What rig would he have given you? So the gentleman who's fishing with me, he takes a split shot, and he has a simple hook, and he clips that split shot about 8 inches up from the hook, and he drops it down onto the fish, and he's pulling them up, and he drops them on the fish, he's pulling them up. Guys, I think he caught 7 before I caught 1. The point is, sometimes the simplest rigs is the way to go. Now, he knew that. He had tested it. You can say his name. I don't think I can. I think it's Alex. Alan. Abdul. But the point I'm trying to make is he was bringing fish in whenever I was not able to. So let me show you. Here we go. Let's bring this one up. So a lot of you guys are familiar with these simple rigs, and you guys can pause the video if you guys want to try to... there you go. If you guys want to try and remember how to tie them and such. But this is just a drop shot rig. The knot's a little bit different than what I use, but of course it'll work just fine. This is the drop shot rig that I was using with a little bit of a change. I had a leader instead of having the hook right on the main line coming down. I had a small leader, a little jump that came off. Much like you might think for a perch rig. So I had that. Give me 1 second. I'm showing these to you because these are basic rigs, and I want you guys to take a little bit of time to tie them up so that you know how to do them. We're talking about hook, line, and sinker stuff. So things to consider with your hooks, things to consider with your line, and things to consider with the sinkers. The hooks, it's as simple as it sounds, like just a hook's a hook. It's just not. When you consider you can have different size hooks with different gauges, whether it's offset or inline. We were even talking today about it being barbed or barbed in, or what's kind of new on the market, maybe you guys don't even know, is an out barb. An out barb is on the outside of the throat of the hook, and there's a reason that actually is a good idea. Well, then the style of hook you use, of course, like a treble hook, a J hook, an Aberdeen hook, or as Mark reminded me, an EWG, an extreme wide gap hook. I've fished with enough guys like just kind of like pop-up fishing events to understand these guys will take an EWG hook and put a night crawler on it and throw it out there. And if you guys don't understand what the problem is with that, then maybe hooks is where you should start. The reason I'm pointing this out is because the most basic level that your grandfather understood from day one, he would have gave you the right hook with the right bait, and he would have clipped the little split shot on it. The simplest rig ever that you can imagine. But I go fishing enough to know that guys are still using a snap swivel to grab the eye of a hook. And it's probably an EWG hook, and then they put a big night crawler ball onto that EWG hook. The point is, learn your hooks, learn when to use which type of hook, spend a little bit of time studying them. There's a reason there's all those different hooks. There's a reason that some work and some don't. There's a reason why he was catching and I was not. And that's just hooks. When you look at line, of course, everybody thinks of your mono, your fluoro, and your braid. But of course, there's also lead line. There's floating line. Mostly that's used for fly fishermen and such. But another big thing to look at with line is the color. The diameter can be important, but color is a major thing. I like high-vis line, but I don't run high-vis line right down to my lure or hook. Of course, I put a leader in there of some sort. And I'm a big fan of fluoro. I use fluoro a lot. If you fish with me, you know that. So that's line. So spend a little bit of time studying some of these basics. That's hooks. That's line. And then your sinkers can be a lot of stuff too. Whether it's a pyramid or, your split shot like I was talking about, or a barrel. Even a weighted jig head, or, as Mark reminded me again today, a weighted EWG hook. There's reasons to have weights at different places in the lines, or even right on the hook itself. A weighted hook, you think of like a jig head that's got a weighted hook on it, but the EWG actually has the weight underneath, and that helps it to, it helps for a couple reasons. These are the things that I'm encouraging people to study, is to keep the basics right before you try to get real flashy or fancy. And I tell you what I'm talking about is whenever I get onto a boat and I meet a guy and I go out on his boat and it's got $20,000 worth of electronics, but he spent $8 on a spool of 6-pound test monofilament, and we're going ice fishing for Lakers that are 20 pounds. I don't know. It's just confusing. That was a bad example, wasn't it? We're on a boat, but we went ice fishing. The point is, the money went the wrong way, is what I was trying to say. So if you can focus more on the business end of your rigs, that is where your knowledge meets the fish's lip. And I'm talking specifically about them hooks. Make sure they're sharp. Make sure they're not rusted out. Make sure the knots you're using to hold on to those hooks are right. Learn your knots, spend a little time, and figure out these basic things so that you don't lose fish, or you lose less fish. I wish I could say I still don't lose fish. And then your rod and reel pairing. That's another thing. I tell you, rod and reel pairing is probably one of the biggest things that guys who have expensive boats just throw to the wayside. The idea of having a good rod and reel pairing and then quality gear on that rod, I'm talking about the line and the right kind of hooks or the right lures, things like that. I've looked at even these expensive boats where the guys are pulling, just Walmart special lures with hooks that are half kinked and straightened out. They don't even look. They don't even check those hooks, the business end of that lure, and they don't even consider it. So what I'm doing is I'm encouraging you guys not to overlook the obvious. Start with the fish's lip and come back to the boat. And that's basically the order of how important things are. So you start with that hook, that sharp edge, the barb, and then the gauge of the hook itself, the eyelet and how the knot's tied to it, what kind of line you're using back for your leader, and then your leader to main line, whatever that knot is, make sure that's right. And when you get up to that rod has to be the right kind of rod for the fish you're fishing for. With a little bit of play, hopefully you can use that rod for more than just that one species. Back to the reel. If that's right, now we can talk about dumping some money into the electronics. But the business end of what you're doing out there has to be right. This is just basic stuff. This is granddad putting a split shot and a hook on a line so that you can succeed. He puts the right stuff in your hands so that you can get it done. Treat yourself in the same way. And then you can move on to the higher levels, and that's learning your techniques. Your techniques will be your casting and your jigging and your trolling, and learning how to do that both shallow and deep for each. Whether you're doing cast, retrieve, whether you're doing jigging, or whether you're driving the boat and doing some trolling. You can do all of that either shallow or deep, and you got to be able to learn those techniques so that you can do it effectively when you get out there. Whew, I feel like I'm idea dumping on you a little bit. Do you guys have any questions or anything jumped out at you whenever I said it? You said, hey, that's me. I need to hear more about that. Phil, you say you're going to try fly fishing for Lakers at the dam. Okay. From the 12-foot John boat. I think this is a great idea. I think it's a great idea. Uh-huh. I'm bringing someone up right now for you to see here. I touched on this just a moment ago, so I figured I'd bring it up to look at it. These are just one of the many diver options that you can choose. And I'm sharing this picture with you, Mace, so you guys can come back and kind of reference it a little bit. But I'm always slow to recommend people pick up a Dipsy diver because I think there's better options, and a lot of them are less expensive. So look at the Dipsy. It's definitely a good tool, and it has some unique benefits. And I think I actually want to do kind of a side-by-side comparison of some of those benefits sometime with you. It's a little tough to do that in any other way than on the water while I'm actively fishing. So maybe in the spring I can do that. But spend some time learning how to fish divers in general. This is probably the quickest way to get you to solve the issue of fishing deep. A lot of people don't succeed at Raystown Lake simply because they don't go down far enough. Especially the summertime fishing crowd. They're fishing in 10, 15 feet of water and they wonder why they don't catch lake trout. Lake trout don't come up that shallow. If they do, it's for a minute and they're gone. So the chance of you connecting is going to be pretty slim. So learn how to fish these divers. And whether it's divers like that or the other thing that I use a lot is downriggers. So fishing at depth is important at Raystown Lake. You got to learn how to do it. And it's why I'm such an advocate for learning how to jig. Dipsy divers on the boat. And then a heavy jigging lure. Something you can get down there and be deep with. If you need some help with that, go to my website, randallrydes.com. I have some jigs there for you that work perfectly. But That doesn't mean only my jigs work. Any heavy jig that gets you down there where the strike zone is will make you successful in these deeper fish. And it doesn't have to be Lakers either. It can be all of them. They're just deeper here. That's what I'm saying. I did want to point out with this mapping program, the mapping program that I have shown here, I'm going to bring it up. This one is something that's online. So you got to, kind of cruise. You got to have internet access to be able to bring this up. Navionics actually lets you do the app for free. I think you got to give them your email. So you can actually go to Navionics and actually download their map program, and it'll be right on your phone as well. The other option is whenever you're in here actually looking through this map is to take it to, let's go back to the beer barrel. What did I say? This little mark right here? This little spot here? The other thing to do is to actually just take your camera, point it at the computer screen, and take a picture of this area. And that way you have a photograph of it on your phone so that when you get out there you can, zoom into it and say, okay, let's try right here. At least get close and give it a shot. So those two simple tips. So Navionics lets you do a free app on your phone that'll be all of it, or you can just take a quick snapshot of it too. Hey Charles, good evening. Yeah, absolutely. You're going to fish for Lakers from the kayak? I'll tell you, it's tough because you can't cover as much water for searching. But if you're going to go to Lewistown with a kayak, there's a couple things I'd want to point out to you. But this area here, so this is 7 points right here. This is the boat ramp. If you look right over here, this area all back in here, this big area, this big loop right here, it's all no wake. So there's no wake buoys that go right across right here. And this whole area back here is a no wake zone. I'm going to tell you that does not mean that people don't go fast back there. There's people that just ignore no wake zones. So there's still boats back there ripping around, pulling tubes and jet skis. They just do what they're going to do. But generally speaking, that's a no wake zone. It's going to be more calm. So you can take your kayak, put it in at 7 points, and turn left. And you just go around the bow a little bit there. You'll see the no wake buoys out across. Just get out behind them, and then I'll show you a good spot here when you get out there. It's a little bit of a paddle to get there, but it's not terrible. So here's the ramp. You put in, just stay close to the left side. Come right around this edge, and when you get down along this flat right here, just start looking. If you have electronics, just kind of scan through this area. Usually around 60 foot is a good area to judge for, but just see where they're marking at, and then they'll all kind of be in that depth. That's where the temperature is right. So without sending down a fish hawk or something to check temperatures, you just find them where they're going to be at. So you come around this bend right here and just go out here to about 60 foot, and you can just motor along or paddle along in about 60 foot until you see them. But you can fish this whole area back here behind the no wake zone, back behind Marty's Island. This island right here is Marty's. But you can fish this whole area back here on this horseshoe for Lakers. And don't be trying to stay away from the trees. I think a big problem guys have at Lake Lewistown is they've always heard that you want to avoid the trees because the trees will take all your lines and it's just a disaster. Guys, the fish live in the trees. If you're avoiding the trees, you're avoiding the fish. You can't do that. So find the fish that are in the trees and figure out how to catch them out of there. Yeah, Snyder's is good too. Yeah. Yeah, good. I hope that helps though, Charles. Appreciate you asking that question. Any more questions before we hang it up for the night? Really good interaction tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm thinking next week I might do something completely different for the live stream. I feel like goofing off. So I'm going to put that together. It's going to be a surprise. But I want to extend to you guys an appreciative handshake across the net and encourage you guys to go and spend a little time doing some homework and that is go to the mapping program and look through it. Find your hotspot. Recap what I talked about a little bit. Go back and watch the video before this. And find your hotspot or an area you think would be good, and then dissect it. So go to where you caught a fish at Lake Raystown, and I want you to bring it up on the map and just kind of go through it and dissect it, kind of pull it apart piece by piece. Think about current, think about depth, think about the contour lines, how steep it is, how close it is to a flat where there might be bait, things like that. Why were they there? Why did it work? Dissect it a little bit and start learning. This is the basics of map reading. This is a little bit more important than understanding you got to use the right kind of hook to suit the bait. I might have said something that you guys don't understand, but if a bait's head is this big, you don't use a little hook, right? Well, if the bait's head is this big, you don't use a big hook. It's the same thing. Essentially what I'm saying is you want to make the hook, and you want to match the hook to the size of the bait, which means when I go out in the mornings and I'm catching bait for my charter, I don't even tie hooks. I don't get rigs ready. I catch my bait first because I got to know what kind of bait I've got before I start tying rigs for them. You have to start at the business end, the end that meets the fish. Make sure your hooks are sharp. Make sure your knots are right. No granny knots. Start with the polymer. The polymer's a good knot. Use it still. Use it continuously. It's a great knot. It's consistent. I'll hang out just for a couple more minutes. If you guys have any questions, let me know. When you guys go to the website, you guys are going to see that I have the registration for the events that are coming up. The first one that's coming up is the Lewistown Rendezvous on April 10th. This is a voluntary registration. It's only $5. I'm encouraging people to do this because there are expenses associated with putting on an event like this. I'd appreciate a little help covering the expense. That being said, it is a free event. You can just show up, bring the kids. There's a large area there that you can camp out at. We are going to have some discussion in the building and maybe do like a little round table. We're going to have some qualified fishermen talking about important fishing stuff to the Lewistown Lake, like matching the hook to the size of the bait. So we have some things set up. Of course, we're going to have all the fun games too. Have a fire pit at night, so bring some marshmallows and stuff. So it is a camping event. We're also going to have some talks. We're going to have some people other than me who are much more qualified than me talking to you about some important topics right at Lewistown. So the address is right here. It's in the description. So take a minute and look that up on your mapping program so that you know where it is, where you know you need to be on April 10th through the 12th. And we'll meet up there. We'll be able to shake hands in person, and you can ask all these questions. As the year goes along, I will point out the other events as well. We have a public event registration for the bank angling event. That's in May. And then we have our paddling and bassing in June. And then way out, we are bringing back fishing and chilling in November. So there's a lot going on. I hope you are a part of it. If you haven't been a part of the Lewistown community yet, start getting plugged in. Let's start talking, and we'll learn how to fish this lake together. With that, guys, I think I'm going to say good night. I went a little bit over tonight. Hope that's all right. I think we covered a lot of ground, and there's more ground to cover. So next week, we're going to do this again, same time. We're going to do this Monday nights at 8 p.m., and I'd usually take it right about an hour, so about 8 to 9 o'clock. We might go over a little bit. Last two streams we have going a little long, but it's been good interacting with you, and hopefully a lot of information's been shared. Hopefully you guys appreciate it. If you do, give me the thumbs up because that helps me out with YouTube. And I guess that's it. I guess I'm going to leave it with that. I think everybody has voiced their concern or their got touched. I think we touched on everything. All right. Good deal. All right, man. Y'all have a good night. I'm going to go hang out with my boy. I think we're going to have some popcorn and watch a movie for a little bit. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. Much love. Much respect. Good night.